An important side note, I'm currently impacted by COVID restrictions. That is why I used myself and a friend of mine as athletes for this video. Moving on, in my last vlog I discussed capacity and skill related issues in the weight room. This time I will discuss capacity and skill related issues that influence the movement quality of two different athletes within speed and agility. Causes and solutions are discussed in combination with the constraint-led approach. For the sake of this video, I will focus on one particular problem for every athlete, that is, in my opinion, the most obvious one. I will start off with a skill-related issue during the acceleration phase. This frame clearly shows us that this athlete did get in an upright position too soon. Eventually, the top speed of this sprint will be reached much later. To investigate the cause of what we saw in the video, I'll let him perform some variations of wall drills, so that this athlete can get comfortable with a 45-degree forward-leaning position. After practicing the wall drills for some time, the next step for this athlete is to perform the waterfall drill. The athlete is pushing actively into the hands of the person in front of him, before he falls into an acceleration. This change in environment, resistant force of the hands, and the change of the task, pushing and leaning into the hands of a person, will transfer the forward-leaning position of the wall drill into a more dynamic movement. We can see a clear improvement of forward leaning from the pre-drill sprint to the post-drill sprint. This improvement of forward leaning gives me the reason to say this athlete had a skill-related issue. The second athlete that we focus on has a capacity issue that causes the movement strategy that we can see here. It's very clear that this athlete has inefficient forward leaning during the first steps of his acceleration. Also, very small steps are used to create speed. I will explain why a capacity and not a skill-related issue is the basis for this alternative, inefficient acceleration strategy. Just like the athlete with the skill-related issue, I tried to improve the movement strategy of this athlete in the first place by changing his acceleration skills to understand if a skill-related issue is the cause of the movement strategy or not. Wall drills can be used to provoke a better movement strategy like we saw previously. After some time of practicing the wall drills, the next step is the waterfall drill. By leaning into the arms of an individual, the body is already in the right forward-leaning position. Cones were put in front of the athlete to force the athlete to make his first 3 steps bigger. Forward-leaning increased, but a different movement problem occurred. The athlete is now not able anymore to get his shoulder, hip, knee and ankle in one line. This problem is also present during the 3-point start with the cone drill. With more forward-leaning comes a greater force to overcome during the first steps of acceleration. It is clear that this athlete does not have enough strength in his hip and knee extensors to produce the required amount of force, which resulted in a lower upper body position. This led me believe this strategy avoids his capacity problem, strength in his hip and knee extensors. A solution is to increase his strength capacity in the hip and knee extensors so that his shoulder, hip, knee and ankle can be aligned in a greater forward-leaning position. At this point we saw 2 movement issues within acceleration. The first athlete had a forward-leaning problem during the first steps of the start. This was tested and improved by a couple of skill drills. These improvements showed that the forward-leaning issue was skill-related. The second athlete had a forward-leaning problem as well. While forward-leaning was improved by some skill drills, the movement strategy was still inefficient, as the athlete's body was not proper aligned. This was caused by a strength issue in his hip and knee extensors. I will now focus on 2 problems that occur within an agility exercise. I will start off with a skill-related issue, which you see here. This athlete is performing an U-turn exercise with the goal to go as quickly as possible around the cone and back to the finish line. What stands out is the quiet, upright position of this athlete and his foot position close to the center of mass, the yellow line, during the D and acceleration. This strategy results in a slower performance outcome, which can be decisive in sports like soccer and football. To test if this athlete has a skill-related issue, I changed the environment and the task for this athlete to provoke a better movement strategy. The environmental change is the 2 extra cones, where the athlete is given the task to only start thinking about turning at cone 1, plus go through the gap between cone 2 and 3. During the deceleration of the U-turn after the skill drill, the braking foot is placed further in front of the center of mass, which is the yellow line. This creates a greater braking force. The last step that is used to slow down is also placed further away from the center of mass, which gives the athlete the opportunity to accelerate better with the following step. The improvements in movement strategy of this athlete gives me the reason to assume that foot position and body leaning issues were skill related. Finally, we will look at an athlete that is performing a goalkeeper specific V-shaped turning exercise. During the first repetition, the athlete is able to reach the ball after deceleration, turning and acceleration, which results in preventing a goal. During his last repetition, however, he is not able anymore to prevent a goal, which is a decrease in performance. I will explain to you why I believe a capacity issue is causing this decrease in performance. During the deceleration phase of the last repetition, the athlete's body is in a less leaning position, the green line. This is caused by a shorter distance between the braking foot and the center of mass, the yellow line. This strategy is not optimal, as it decreases the ability to accelerate. Eventually, the athlete is not able anymore to recover the ball. To have a better look at this problem, the goalkeeper specific element is removed so that we can focus on only the deceleration, turning and acceleration. When timing the 2 repetitions, a time difference of almost 1 second can be seen. This time difference is created by less efficient deceleration, turning and acceleration, just like we saw during the goalkeeper specific variant of this drill. Based on the increase of time and decrease of movement quality, I assume this athlete is unable to recover fast enough to produce enough force, which is a capacity issue. To know how to improve force production of this athlete, we must know what is limiting it. We know that this individual struggles with performing a high intensity drill of approximately 15 to 20 seconds. During this type of short intense efforts, production of ATP, which plays a major part in producing force, relies heavily on the fast glycolytic system. So the solution for this athlete is to perform interval training, like you see here. A good starting point is to perform this drill for a minimum of 2 times a week. Every training contains 4 to 5 sets, where each set stands for 2 repetitions that last 8 to 10 seconds. A work-rest ratio of 1 to 3 to 1 to 5 is sufficient. The specific individual intensity of this drill can be determined by the mass score, which is based on a maximal effort test like a 1500 meter all-out test. We saw 2 issues within agility, where the first one was skill related. The foot placement and body leaning position was incorrect, causing a less efficient turning strategy. By using a modified drill, a better body leaning position and foot placement was provoked, which indicated a skill-related problem was present. The second agility case showed a decreased quality of turning as well. This was caused by an inability of the athlete to produce enough force during the turning part of the exercise when the exercise lasted longer than 10 seconds, which is a capacity-related issue. A solution was to train the glycolytic energy system by interval training. This was my vlog about speed and agility. I hope it was helpful.